Hi, I'm Kelly, and today we're going to talk about some of the positives about having recurrent miscarriages before a pregnancy. So it's very easy to talk about the negatives because it's very stressful, it's very scary to go through a pregnancy after having miscarriages. There's a lot of negatives, and I mean, going through the miscarriages themselves is a very negative experience and a very sad, traumatic experience. So I feel like the negatives are real easy, and I wanted to try to share some of the positives with you to try to have a little bit of a light on the situation and a little bit of hope for the situation. The overarching theme of most of these positives, I would say, is a change in perspective. I feel like going through these miscarriages, they gave me a new perspective on life and especially on any subsequent pregnancies. And with that change in perspective, the first thing that I found is that now I feel like I know what matters more to me. I feel like I know what is important and what's just the little stuff that I don't need to worry about. One example of this is the baby's gender. So I have had a ton of people like doctors, ultrasound technicians, just friends and family that ask me what gender do I want it to be? Like, oh, do you know the gender? What do you want it to be? And I find this to be, now having gone through the miscarriages, I find it to be such an odd question. I don't care what the gender is. I want it to be alive and as healthy as possible. And those are the two things that I want. And beyond that, it really doesn't matter to me at all. And so because it really doesn't matter to me, my husband and I have decided to wait until we actually have the baby to find out what gender it is. I used to think that it was important. I used to think that I wanted to know the gender so that we could pick out a name, so that I could plan things and I could have things with their name ready for them when they're born. And I thought that was just important stuff, important about having a baby. And there's nothing wrong with that, but now that I've been through the miscarriages, I've sort of realized that that stuff is superfluous. It's good if you want it, but it's not essential, it's not necessary, and it's not that important to me. Our maternal fetal medicine doctor and then a few other people have just told us about how special and how fun and amazing it is if you just find out the gender of the baby in the labor and delivery room, when the baby's born, how it's just this really special thing that you'll never get back again. And I don't know, we just decided that that feels really good and that sounds exciting and fun, and it feels in keeping with this whole change in perspective that I have, and it just feels right for us to do that. So that's the decision that we've made. And I don't think that I would have come to that decision if our journey hadn't taken us the route that it took us. I don't think that if I had gone through the miscarriages that that would necessarily be my choice. But I'm glad that it is. And another example of how I feel like now I know what's important in life and what's important for the pregnancy and what's not so important is with our nursery. So I used to think that I wanted the perfect little nursery. Whenever I used to get pregnant in my first miscarriage, in my first pregnancies that resulted in miscarriage, as soon as I would get pregnant, I would get so excited, and I would go look on Pinterest and look at nurseries and pin beautiful nurseries of different, things that I could do to make the nursery look just perfect for the baby. And that was an important part of having a baby in my mind. But now that I have gone through what I've gone through, that's just no longer important to me. And if it's important to you, that's fine. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with having a really nice nursery. It's just that now I don't care so much. I just want a really healthy and alive baby to put in the nursery. That is what I want. And if it's a shoebox of a nursery, then I'm fine with that. What's important is the baby that I put into the nursery. So one little story about that and about the nursery is that when we purchased our house, which was about 3 years ago, we painted all the rooms, and my husband painted the room that was like our third bedroom, that in the beginning it was sort of like his like man room, kind of like a man cave, and he painted it. He picked out the colors, and oh my gosh, the colors that he picked, it's like a really vibrant baby blue, which baby blue isn't normally that vibrant. I'll have to put a picture in order for you to understand this baby blue. And there's gold trim everywhere. And I mean everywhere. Like the ceiling is gold. The entire ceiling is 100% gold. And all the trim and everything is gold. And it's not like a muted gold or like a, little bit of a gold. Oh no, it's like 110% gold. So the room's like not necessarily my taste. And, it's, in my opinion, it kind of borders a little bit on gaudy, but my husband painted it and it was his room. So I was like, fine, whatever, I don't care. But then whenever it was going to be a nursery, like this is the room that has to be the nursery because it's the only bedroom that is available. At first I was like, okay, we need to paint it. Can we paint it? And at this point, I still want to know if it's like, I still want to know the gender of the baby. So I'm thinking that we find out if it's a girl or a boy and then paint it appropriately. And, but I found out, my husband told me like during our like journey of the miscarriages, at some point when we're talking about stuff and like, I'm probably crying about something and my husband and I are just talking about the miscarriages and everything. At some point, he told me the story that when he painted that room, when we originally moved into the house, he painted that color in the hope that one day it would become a nursery and that one day we would have a baby together. And when he told me that, I mean, that probably made me cry even more, I'm pretty sure. But it was very touching and that's very important. And it totally changed my perspective on the color of that room. So now, even though I don't love the color, it's not a color I would pick, but it was important to him. And that color had meaning. It was like, it was his hope and his dream, and it was very important to him. And so now that color is important to me because I know the story of it and I know the motivation behind it. And I don't want to paint over his hopes and his dreams, and I don't want to wash out any of that. I want him to have that. I want to give him a baby in that little nursery that he painted the colors that he wanted. Now, I probably wouldn't have this perspective if I hadn't gone through what happened. I probably would have still been pretty selfish and wanted it to be a color that I wanted it to be. I'm not proud of that, and I'm not proud of that is how I was before, but if I'm being honest, that's probably what I would have done. And now what's really important to me is the baby and my family. And so part of that is my husband and his feelings and his dreams and desires. And so because this was part of his dream, I will now happily keep this color in the nursery. And it doesn't bother me, even though like it's not the color that I like, but it still doesn't bother me because the story of it is important. And I love the story, and I love my husband, and I love our little family. So that is what is important. That is more important than the actual Pantone color of the room. So that's one way that I've definitely gained some perspective, and it's changed things for me. Another thing that I feel is different in this pregnancy because of the miscarriages is that I feel like I'm taking more of a minimalist approach to all the baby gear and the stuff that we need. And I also feel like the whole consumerism aspect of having a baby is less important to me, and it's sort of like I feel like the marketing and all that is less effective on me because, again, I know what's important. The baby is important. All the stuff that goes around the baby is not really that important. And there's really only like a very small amount of things that are truly necessary that you actually need for the baby. And then the other stuff is just like wants and desires and extra fluff. And there's nothing wrong with extra fluff. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't have that, but it's just something that now I feel like I know what is important, and I'm being more intentional about the things that I buy for the baby. And it's a little more pared down than I probably would have been if I hadn't been through this journey. And sort of in keeping with that is that we have decided not to have a baby shower before the baby's born. And part of that is just because it's sort of to be like extra cautious. We don't want to celebrate something before, like, what's the saying about counting your eggs before they're hatched or something? We don't want to do that. We don't want to say, yay, we're having a baby, let's all celebrate, and then we don't actually have the baby yet. We want to have the baby, be excited, and then share that with everybody. That's sort of just like the order that feels most appropriate and most comfortable for us. Again, I'm not saying that's how everybody should do it, but that's what feels right for us. And actually, like, now that we have started thinking about it that way, like, it feels really, really good, because not only are we now excited to celebrate that the baby is alive and that we have it here in our arms, so that's really exciting, but it also feels like now the shower will be more about the baby and the family. So it's like less about, like, I just sort of feel like normally the shower kind of ends up being about the mom-to-be, and maybe because I'm like shy and I don't like being the center of attention, it feels a lot more comfortable if now the baby is the center of attention. And also my husband gets to be more a part of the shower because it gets to be about our family, about my husband and the baby and me, but not just about me. That feels better to me. So that's one thing that is pretty untraditional and I guess different that we're doing, and it's a direct result of us having the miscarriages first. And the final positive that I'd like to share is that now it feels like in this pregnancy, every single day, every week that we make, every little heartbeat that we hear, every kick that I feel, all of it feels like a celebration. And I feel so much gratitude and so grateful for every little bit of it. And that helped me whenever I was in the first trimester and I was going through like really tough nausea and just like the first trimester where I was super tired and sleeping all the time and just not feeling good at all. It helped to remind myself, well, you know, like a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago, I would have killed to be in this position. I would have killed to be pregnant. And now here I am and I'm pregnant. And yeah, it's kind of sucking that I'm, you know, feeling sick, but at least I'm pregnant. I need to be happy about that. I need to celebrate that. I need to enjoy that and not just feel like too down on myself because I feel sick. It has helped me to celebrate even the yucky feelings of pregnancy. I now celebrate and I am happy for, and I'm grateful, like, oh, my back hurts, yes, but I am grateful that I get to experience this. And, you know, like we do shots every single night of Lovenox, and are shots fun? No, they're not fun, but I am grateful that I get the chance to carry this baby for as long as I have, and whatever stuff is necessary for me to carry this baby, I'm fine with. I will go through anything just so that I can have a baby that is alive at the end of it. And so it's made a lot of sort of trying times a lot easier to bear because I know that I'm doing it for this baby, and it's made it just a little bit easier, and it's just felt better. And the other way that that has helped is that now I feel like I'm able to like let go of my control or my desire for the pregnancy to go a certain way. It's just easier for me to feel now like whatever happens is fine so long as I have a healthy baby at the end of it. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say, you know, I have maybe like an ideal birth plan. I have a way that I would love for the birth to go. I would love to not have a C-section. That's what would be my preference. But what I really want, even more than not having a C-section, is a healthy baby. Or a baby that is as healthy as possible, even if it's not 100% healthy, so long as it is alive and is as healthy as we can possibly make it. That's what I want. So whatever needs to happen, I'm cool with. If that means it's a C-section, that's fine. If that means I need to give birth early, that's fine. Like, whatever it means. If I need to inject myself with a whole bunch of stuff, that's fine. If they need to just like cut me open and whatever, I don't care. So long as it results in as healthy a baby as possible, I am fine with it. And I feel like that perspective that I've gained makes things a lot easier. It makes giving up control of how the pregnancy or the birth goes a lot easier. And so in some ways, I find now that I never would have chosen this journey. I never would have said, you know, like if somebody came to me and said like, okay, how do you want your life to go? Would you like to have 5 miscarriages and have some infertility, and would you like to go through that? I would have said no, absolutely not. Please give me the other path. But now that it's happened and I'm able to sort of see the benefits of it, I feel a lot better about it, and I feel like it's a journey that has its own rewards. And I know that it's like so not fun to think about something having rewards whenever you're going through it. I used to think like, no, there is nothing that is worth me losing my babies for. I would absolutely give up any amount of character or any amount of personal development so that I can just have my baby. And that's true. That is how I felt. And I mean, while that is true, I still can appreciate the journey that I've had, and I can appreciate what has come out of the journey. Because the truth is that I can't change it. Like, I can't go back, and I don't have any choice as to what path I get to take. It is what it is, but I am finding that I am happy with how it turned out, and that there are benefits to it, and there are, no, I would not say benefits, that's the wrong word. There are positives to it. So those are the positives that I have found so far in this pregnancy. If you have any more that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. But that's it for today. I'll see you next time, and in the meantime, I wish you hope on your journey wherever it may take you.